in that project that Joan was talking about from the Fringe Festival. So make sure you tune in later this afternoon for those awesome stories. We are only 1 hour in, and we have already raised over $5,000. It's incredible. Thank you so much for your generosity, folks. I want to give a shout out to some of our large gifts that we recently got in this last hour. Kathy Serino, $250. Transpeak.com, $500. Heather Brown Hudson, $512. That's a very specific amount. I like that. We also have gifts from Mackenzie Lockett, Jacob Fiala, Jill All, $100. Robin Berkeley, $50. Marie Klopfenstein, $150. We have gifts from Jess Jones, Amelia Wright, Scott Intagliata, Virginia Elizabeth Hayes, $100. Erica Rodriguez, Mark Keeley, $350. Aaron Pohl, thank you so much, y'all. Keep those generous gifts flowing in. I can't believe we already have $5,000, $5,200, I think is actually our total right now. So thank you for your generosity. Please continue to give. Please continue to share. You can go to stlmetrotrans.com and donate through the website. You can donate through Facebook. There's many ways to donate. So thank you so much for opening your wallets and your hearts today for this effort. We're going to be raising money for 24 hours. So the more we can get the word out about this, the more you can share this with your friends who have the capacity to give, the closer we will be to achieving our goal of $30,000 for MTUG. You know, I got a chance to attend a really big gala recently, and it kind of was striking to me how much money was raised at this enormous gala in just one night. You know, some nonprofits who have been, you know, active for many years, they have the capacity to do fundraising events that raise $500,000 in one night for a gala. MTUG is very grassroots. It's, you know, just 6 years old, and this is the main fundraising event for this organization. So we're only asking for $30,000 compared to $500,000 that other organizations raise at their big annual events. I know we can do it with your help. I know what we can do it even with small gifts of $5, $10. They add up really fast, and that $5 can help buy somebody a Metro Pass so that they can get to and from MTUG HQ. That $10 can go towards stocking the food pantry at MTUG HQ. So there's many ways to give. If for those of you who just are tuning in and maybe you don't have the capacity right now to give dollars, but you have a lot of friends, tell your friends about this. That's one way you can help, is just sharing the feed, sharing the website, sharing the Facebook event, inviting people to get involved for the next 24 hours. Well, 23 hours now that we're 1 hour in. So thank you so much for your generosity, everyone. I'm so very grateful that we're already over $5,000 towards our goal of $30,000. We have a very special guest coming up in this next segment, and I want to introduce them. Mariah L. Richardson, a native of St. Louis, Missouri, received her MFA from Smith College in playwriting. Mariah is the author of the plays All That, Sistas Indeed, Delilah's Wish, Soyo, Idris Elba is James Bond. I definitely want to know more about that one. Mm-hmm. Chasing the White Rabbit, Queen of the Ville, the Annie Malone story, Functional, the Thelonious Monk story, Love at the River's Edge, and currently Suffer the Children. Mariah is writer and producer of 4 short films. Richardson also authored 2 children's chapter books based on her character, Madeline Delilah. She is an adjunct professor at St. Louis Community College and Harris Stowe State University. Mariah's goal is to combine all the things she loves, poetry, performance, film, and music, together to create work that inspires others towards self-actualization and to continue to radiate the creator spirit within. Mariah is also a personal friend, and I'm really grateful that she's here today with us. I'm going to be reading a couple chapters from her chapter book, so we're going to toss it over to Mariah now. Thanks.
Well, hi guys. Well, with me I have Oliver, Graham, and Adrian, and they're going to be listening to 2 chapters from the first book of Madeline Delilah, Extraordinarily Ordinary. And so with that, I'm going to start. So this is Missing Mama and Magic. Ooh. Chapter 1, Gone Missing. Where is it? Madeline Delilah frantically searched the base of the tree. She combed her fingers through the grass. Nothing. She stood up and looked at her beloved tree. Spirit leaves, spread her arms and hugged the tree. This massive black oak tree has been here longer than her house, longer than her block. It was probably here when the Mississippian Indians lived on this land, ancient and mystical. She stood there with her eyes closed, silent, hoping perhaps here she would find the answer. She grabbed the heavy rope that hung from the bough of the tree and began to climb, up, 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 until she stood in the heart of it on a huge branch. The movement of the wind created music through the leaves. Safe. She knew this tree, and this tree knew her. This was her favorite spot. This was her tree, her and Mama's tree. She and Mama had tied a red ribbon on it for Christmas just before Mama left. Its shade cools her on hot days like this one. She looked closely at the spot where she now stood, but did not find anything. Wiped the tears and sweat from her face. She took a sip of water from her canteen, like the one soldiers use in the military. Mama brought her this one from her last tour of duty. Mama's gonna kill me, she thought aloud to herself. Madeline Delilah, you come down out of that tree, Grandmama called up from the window. Oh, shoot, what now? Nobody called her Madeline Delilah except Grandmama. Everybody just called her Delilah. She was annoyed. Then to Spirit Lee, she said, now Grandmama's gonna kill me. Gotta go. Spirit Leaves bent its branch just so to make it easier for Delilah to climb back through her window, and she reluctantly went in. Her room was a wreck, but she just ignored the mess and went down the stairs. She could hear Mr. Horowitz, her neighbor, coming through the gangway on the side of the house. Mr. Horowitz moved lively on his walker and clomped, clomped, clomped onto the back porch. Grandmama opened the door to make it easier for him to come into the kitchen. Morning, Mr. Horowitz. Another hot day. Ready for some coffee? He sat in his usual spot at the table, and Grandmama handed the old gentleman a large mug filled with steaming black coffee. Even in the heat, the old man wore a black sweater and a black hat. Mr. Horowitz lives across the street. He's 80 years old, and he and Grandmama have coffee together most mornings. They took my paper again. Little thugs didn't leave nothing but the plastic sleeve, he protested. He held up a bright yellow plastic sleeve that the paper had been wrapped in. Nothing but the plastic sleeve. He always repeated things when he wanted to get his point across. I'll send Delilah to the store and get you another one. Delilah came into the kitchen and grabbed an apple that sat in a bowl on the table and refilled her canteen with fresh water. She stood there looking nervous and took a bite out of the apple with a loud crunch. Grandmama, I'm going to see what Jeannie Bess is doing today, okay? Delilah wanted to get to the living room to check there. Just a few minutes. I need you to go to the store for me, Grandmama replied. Delilah turned on the computer, and while she waited for it to boot up, she searched quickly and quietly under the couch cushions and under the desk. Nothing. She sat with a plop and decided to check on Jeannie Best. Jeannie Best is a cowgirl that travels all over the world. Delilah follows her whereabouts. They are online buddies. Delilah likes Jeannie Best because she's an explorer and travels all over the world. Well, she's really a doll that people take all over the world. They record the adventures that Jeannie experiences. I wonder where she is today. Grandmama, she's in Argentina, Delilah shouted from the living room. It's a big country on the bottom of South America. She continued reading and shouting out the information to Grandmama, who was busy in the conversation with Mr. Horowitz. The capital is Buenos Aires. She continued to read aloud to herself. They have cowboys there that are called gauchos. Boy, that looks like a lot of fun. I have to go there someday. Stanley, Delilah's 10-year-old best friend, walked up onto the back porch. His blonde hair was closely cropped to his head. He was wearing his favorite shirt of The Flash. He's a foster kid. He's in the same grade as Delilah, and he lives across the street with his foster mother, Mama Rose. And although Delilah isn't only 9, she helps Stanley with his reading. They say he's ADD. He stuffed the grape now and later candy in his mouth and peered through the screen door. "Morning, Miss Harris. Morning, Mr. Horowitz. Where's MD?" he said as he walked through the door and stood in the kitchen. "Madeline Delilah is on that computer looking for Jeannie Best," Grandmama corrected him. Then she asked, "Stanley, what are you doing? And what are you eating?" Stanley chewed and swallowed while he moved his thumbs and hands like he was playing a video game. "Nothing, just playing a game." Grandmama and Mr. Horowitz looked at him like he'd lost his mind. They didn't understand. So he stood there with a blank look on his face and waited to be dismissed to go to the living room. "Are you riding your bike today?" Grandmama asked. "It's busted. Needs a new rim and tire. Plus, Mama Rose says she needs to see me on the block and not off riding with the other guys." Ever since Mama Rose had taken Stanley in over a year ago, she had done her best to keep him safe and out of trouble. "She's right. Just little thugs," Mr. Horowitz piped in. "Mama Rose says she don't want me to get into stuff, like stealing stuff and smoking stuff." Stanley repeats the words he has heard his foster mother say so many times. Delilah entered, still chewing on the apple. "No, Stanley, don't get into no stuff. Grandmama won't let me marry you if you get into stuff," she said and punched him in his arm playfully. "Yuck, I ain't marrying nobody." He rubbed his arm where she had landed the blow and popped another piece of candy into his mouth. "Where's Jeannie Best today?" he asked. "Argentina." She dragged him to the living room to the computer. "Got any new jokes, Delilah?" Stanley always wanted to hear Delilah tell jokes. Sometimes they were even funny. She would videotape them on this little dog tag-shaped camera she had gotten for Christmas from Mama. It was the coolest thing she had ever seen. But the best gift she had gotten at Christmas, she had lost. "I need you to help me," she whispered to him. "Tell me a joke first," she said, unconcerned. "Not now, this is serious," she said. "Tell me a joke," he insisted. "Okay, let me think." Then Delilah moved close to Stanley, and just above a whisper, she said, "I've lost it." Tears welled up in her eyes. "What's the matter? Lost what?" Stanley asked. "My bracelet." "Oh, that's not good," Stanley said slowly. And then we're going to skip on, and we're going to go to chapter 7. Miss Wanda and Miss Rita. Later that day, the sun was very hot, and the street was quiet. As Delilah approached the little white picket fence, the perfume of flowers filled her nostrils. There were flowers everywhere. There were flowers in flower beds, in pots, trailing up the trellis, and even the side of the old brick house. There was an explosion of color, white, pink, red, purple. It was stunning. This was one of Delilah's favorite hangouts, next to her tree. This was Miss Wanda and Miss Rita's yard. They had a double lot, so they had planted vegetables too. Delilah had helped a few days in the spring when Miss Wanda taught her how to turn the soil. Then the ground was bare and black. Now life poured out everywhere. Delilah had been in the garden the day that her bracelet went missing, the day before yesterday. She had probably smelled every flower that day. She and Stanley had even climbed the apple tree. It had apples, but they were still green and too small for picking. Delilah remembered last fall when she and Stanley had climbed the tree to get apples. They had entered the yard but not bothered to check to see if anyone was home. Delilah had seen one apple way up in the tree that looked so good. She began to climb higher and higher. She got the apple but slipped on her way down and got her foot caught in the tree. She was hanging upside down and was screaming so loud that Grandmama came running. Miss Wanda and Miss Rita came out of their house too. Miss Wanda and Miss Rita were trying to get Delilah down. Meanwhile, Grandmama was screaming at Miss Wanda and Miss Rita saying it was their fault. Stanley had to tell Grandmama that it was really his and Delilah's fault because no one knew that they were there. Then Grandmama stopped yelling when she realized what had really happened. Sometimes Grandmama can be very protective of Delilah. Delilah had to wear a bandage on her ankle for 2 weeks, and Miss Wanda and Miss Rita made an apple pie from the apples off the tree and brought it to Grandmama. Delilah almost didn't get any because she had caused a lot of trouble by not getting permission to climb the tree. Now, Delilah had to search the whole yard for her missing bracelet. She started looking in one flower bed. Nothing. Then she went to the vegetable garden. Nothing. Delilah? Miss Wanda sat up in her chair on the porch. Delilah had not seen her there. What you doing, child? Delilah was startled and then found herself in tears. Oh, come here. Don't cry, sweetie. Miss Wanda pulled her close and wiped her tears. Delilah began to pour the story out of how she lost a bracelet and that Mama was going to hate her and she wasn't going to be a queen and the kids in Africa were going to starve. Well, I don't know about if those children in Africa are going to starve because you lost your bracelet, but I know for a fact your mother will love you no matter what. Now dry your eyes and you can look around the garden as much as you see fit, Miss Wanda said. Delilah pulled herself together and searched and searched, but she did not find it. Miss Rita had joined Miss Wanda on the porch in the shade. After Delilah's exhaustive search, they gave Delilah a cold glass of sun tea sweetened with honey and sent her on her way. Miss Wanda told her, "Quiet yourself down and center in truth, child. That is always best." Delilah thanked the ladies and she walked solemnly back to her house. Grandmama watched her from the kitchen window but didn't say anything to her. She wondered what was troubling her granddaughter so. Delilah went to her room and then climbed into the upper branches of spirit leaves with pencil and paper and decided to tell Mama the truth. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, Mariah. I love your stories so much. I think that y'all would agree this would make an excellent gift for the holiday season. The Madeline Delilah book and gift package with the doll is available at Left Bank Books. Left Bank Books is also one of our generous sponsors. They gave $500 to this telethon, and we are just very grateful for Left Bank Books' continued support in our community. I just want to give a little bit more info about what MTUG is all about. The HQ does have open hours on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So for those looking for community, you can go to their open hours. Just go to their website. There's more information about that. They do have support groups there that meet. They serve over 150 adults a month in these support groups. There's FemSpec, which is for those who identify on the feminine side of the gender spectrum. There's Locker Room for those who identify more on the masculine side of the spectrum. There's Expression Spectrum, which is another support group that MTUG provides. There is Sooth, which is the organization the support group that is there for the spouses and significant others of those who identify as trans or gender non-conforming. And then there's also QTPOC, which is a wonderful support group that meets there at HQ. So there's a lot going on at MTUG, right? There's lots to tap into. The house that MTUG was gifted is an incredible space. If you haven't checked it out, I invite you to go during the open hours and get a tour of the space. Your dollars that are being raised during this telethon are going immediately to use there at the headquarters. HQ needs maintenance, regular maintenance as any other building or house would. The grass needs to be mowed. electricity bill needs to be paid. There needs to be insurance on the property. All of this stuff adds up. All of these expenses add up for this grassroots organization. So we definitely are very grateful for all your donations. We've already raised over $5,200 in the first hour of the broadcast, and I know that there have been many more gifts coming in as we were hearing from Mariah and reading from her book. So thank you for keeping those gifts coming in. MTUG also houses at HQ Song Squad, who you heard from earlier in the broadcast. They do their rehearsals there. There's a book club going on at HQ and just a lot of various social groups. So, if you want to find community through MTUG, through HQ, there's lots of ways to tap in. Go visit them on Tuesdays and Thursdays in the open hours. I want to just take a couple moments to give a huge shout out to the MTUG Telethon team. The team that puts on this event is a core group of people who have been with us now for almost all 3 years. Pretty much all of us have been here now for the 3 years of this telethon. And there are just some incredible individuals who have helped make this happen. So thank you so much, Rissa, Aaron, Mira, James, Terry. I see Lady Ashley. I see so many other humans here in the space who have been with us, meeting weekly, working on this event for months. I think you would agree that the technology of this is impressively professional for a grassroots organization, and I just really want to give a huge shout out of gratitude to the Telethon team. This is all volunteer run. MTUG has very few paid staffers. I think there's only 2 or 3 people who are actually paid staffers of the organization. This mostly is run on volunteer support. So like I said, your dollars are helping to increase the capacity of this organization immediately. That even a very small gift is going to help pay somebody who is working for the organization. So thank you again for your generosity. Thank you again to this incredible telethon team for pulling off this huge undertaking. This is our 3rd annual event, and it just keeps getting better and better as the years go on. I know this organization is very near and dear to my heart, and I hope that if you don't know that much about MTUG, that you will use this as an opportunity to learn more about the organization and maybe get more involved. Because, I kind of feel like with progress in society, I kind of visualize climbing up a mountain, and there are some of us who are a little bit more capable of running up that mountain, right? And it's a race to the top, or we can help each other all get to the top, right? So I feel like there are definitely some folks in our community who are more oppressed than others. There are folks in our community who face even bigger challenges than we do. I myself am a cisgender woman. I identify as queer and lesbian, and I've faced my own challenges, but for the most part, I have a lot of privilege. I came up in an era where I had the gay bars in the Grove to go to. I had my community. I could find my people. But not everybody has that experience. If you are an individual who is coming out as transgender or coming out as gender non-binary in a particularly conservative family or in a place where you don't know other trans people, it can feel very isolating. It can feel very challenging. And MTUG is providing that support and providing that community to our people right here, particularly our trans women of color are facing so many obstacles still to this day. And if you don't know about what's going on, I invite you to use this telethon as an opportunity to educate yourself and to listen in for the rest of the broadcast to some of these interviews and to some of these entertainers who are going to be sharing their stories and sharing their heart with you. This is a community that really benefits from your support right away. So like I said, any generosity that you can give for the next 22 and a half hours, 23 hours is very, very appreciated. We're very grateful for your support. We're gonna pass it off now to another interview. I think we're getting set up in the interview room, yeah. Great, this next interview is going to be with our good friend Tori. Tori represents an organization called Lot's Wife. Embedded in the heart of St. Louis, Lot's Wife Trans and Queer Chaplaincy primarily provides emotional and spiritual support to transgender, non-binary, and other gender-expansive folks in the St. Louis region. Lot's Wife is unique to the region as a chaplaincy, unconnected to a specific church or movement, and instead is meeting trans-expansive people where they are. So I believe we have Sayer over there in the interview room now with Tori, so I'm going to toss